Welcome back to the Gift of Gaming podcast. On this week's episode, and for the episodes in the future, we're looking at our Final Fantasy VII Rebirth review. That's right, we finished it, and we're ready to talk about it. Okay, it's me, your host, Darren Wade, and I am joined by, of course, the classic cast for Final Fantasy Sans, Kevin, who's in New Zealand. I'm joined by Colm Nolan. Colm, how are you?
Hey, Darren. Good. Thank you for having me on.
My absolute pleasure. You enjoyed your time with Final Fantasy. Before I introduce Craig the Critical, of course, you had a nice time?
I did, yes. I mean, overall, had a grand old time with the game.
And Craig the Critical Nolan, you're here with me as well. How are you, Craig?
I'm very good, Darren. Can't wait to talk about this.
How has your life been now that you're finished Final Fantasy VII Rebirth?
It's a little sad knowing it's over, and knowing that, I could do hard mode and brutal and all that, but I'm not going to get those feelings of magic again.
Yeah.
Though I was, halfway through the game, I was having those panic attacks that be like, oh no, I'm not going to get to walk into Junon for the first time again. So I'm kind of just feeling sulky for the sake of it, whereas there's still loads out there to go through. I could play this game 3 or 4 more times and get an extra 1,000 hours in, I'd say.
Yeah. It's so good. We usually do a bit where I ask you guys what you guys have been playing, but of course we've been playing nothing but Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Mm-hmm. So I think before we get into it, because I've got obviously a list of things to go down here to talk about with this game, a full review. Just for our listeners, of course, this is going to be nothing but spoiler territory. We're talking this game through. This isn't a spoiler list territory. This is spoiler full. So if you haven't played the game, haven't finished the game, don't listen to this podcast until you have, because we're going to break it all down. Colm, an overview. How many hours did it take you to finish Rebirth?
I have about 130 now, but I did start the hard mode and kind of go through it again. So I would say roughly 122 hours. 120 odd hours.
And overall, what are your feelings? Did you enjoy Rebirth?
I did enjoy it. I'm not gonna I as much as I did enjoy it, and I think it's a great game, I have some issues with it, little things, but enough that it's just okay. As much as we're gonna talk a lot of good shit about the game, blah blah blah, I want to at least reveal some of the flaws.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I'd be with you. I don't think the game was in terms of. To me, it's got to be one of the greatest games I've ever played, for sure. But that doesn't mean it's a 100% perfect game. Craig, how many hours did it take for you to complete?
It says 150, but I think I was just idle so much that it should be around 120. I think was about right as well.
Niall told me recently that it doesn't take into account idle time.
That is factually incorrect.
Yes.
Though.
So when you have it on the menu, pause, and I did it so many times when I'd step up to make a cup of tea.
It keeps ticking away forever.
I used to pause it to listen to music at certain points because I had the headphones on, and I'd be like, I'll make a cup of tea, but I keep the headphones on and I put the kettle on, and I'd just be listening to whatever tune it might be, and I'd look back at the menu, and it was still. Yeah. So I'd say 120 hours for me to complete it. I would say in total probably 3 hours of those were idling, if not a little bit more. Maybe.
Loads of mine were idle. So many times I saved the game and then just went out, made a cup of tea, and was watching TV, but my PlayStation 5 is still on. Yeah. And then when I come back to it, it's still ticking away, and then I'm just oh shit, did I save? And I go to save, and all of a sudden it advances me 3 hours
because you left it on.
But I know I saved.
Yeah.
It's been idle, but it counted every second of that.
So your feelings on the game, Craig, after 128 hours to finish it, how?
Like Colm said, there's a lot of gripes with it, but like you said, it's one of the best games I've ever played because it just has so much, and so much of it is done so well. They haven't just tacked on a lot of things just for the sake of it. The stuff that they've added, they've put a lot of thought into it for the most part, and really made this just great piece of entertainment for us.
And it is, and I think my point on it is that I think it's one of the greatest games I've ever played. Not entirely because it's a Final Fantasy VII remake game, but because game content-wise, the enjoyment and the quality throughout. 120 hours seems to be the 3 of us, it took us around about 120 hours to finish this game. For 120 hours of this game, I was 99% of the time entertained by what I was doing.
Yes, yeah.
The quality of side quests, the quality of gameplay was just so good that there was no part of me that ever got burnt out.
Just especially because you've played the original game, but even if you hadn't, just the excitement of getting to a new town is just unmatched. And I love in the original Final Fantasy VII, and not so much 8 because the towns were rubbish. But in 9, like 7 and 9 in particular, I was always super excited to get to the next location, to go into the weapon shop or the material shop to like see what was on offer. And in this game, there's always something that a new town brings.
Yeah.
Mostly visually, just absolute treat. New music to go with it, you know, just new character dialogue,
new Queen's Blood challengers.
New Queen's Blood challenges. It was always a massive event getting to a new town, and they looked incredible.
All of them did. Yeah, I think so. I have written down here, but before we sat down to record this, I was listening back to our trailer episodes that we did. There was like 3 or 4 of them in total, and we made lots of predictions during those. And I've written a few of these down. And as we're going out to the episode, I'll bring these predictions up and say whether or not we got it wrong or right. But I suppose to kick us off, I mean, I've got a number of things written down here, and I guess the best way to probably go through this and talk about the game as a whole would be kind of just to set us off as you know, chapter wise going through the game. The first thing I will say on the game, and I'm quite keen to know what your guys' opinion of this aspect of the game is throughout the game. We opened not exactly where we thought. So this is where the first prediction I have here is, Craig, and it's yours. You said that the game would open 100% with the Nibelheim flashback. It doesn't. We
kind of does.
We open with Zack in a kind of a weird Zack scene where you know, he's like unexpected for me, but he arrives and everything's very convenient in that part of the game, but he arrives with Cloud, and in that moment he's seeing the helicopters that have essentially taken away Aerith and the gang, and he goes to save her. As an opening piece, how did you guys feel about?
I was immediately, because having done the demo, I was a little like, oh no, do I want to be playing the demo again? So it was nice instantly to see something different that I wasn't expecting, something refreshing.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was a CG sequence of Cloud and Zack walking together with the white feather, which was irrelevant, but coming down, like, it looked really, really cool, and it made me think I was in for something special. Mm-hmm. Granted, they kind of cheaped out on that, and like, it was cool that you got to play as Zack, but like you said, that's the opening. But that could have happened at any point in the game, and it wouldn't have mattered in the slightest. Like, it had no business being at the start. In fact, every single Zack sequence could be randomly inserted into any part of the story. Yeah. And it wouldn't matter, you know? Like, they just seem to be sprinkled in here and there just for the sake of getting to the end. Even though, like, it's about 30 minutes in total, Zack's entire progress.
It was very much a Squall Laguna type scenario from
no, because those are well implemented into the story. These were not well implemented into the story.
So well implemented. But I mean to say is that what's happening in the Laguna flashbacks pays no bearing really on what's happening with your real party. It's just like a background.
Well, it does, because the characters in FF8 are aware of that happened. Yeah, so it influences their decisions, and like even when they meet Laguna and Kiros later on, they know who they are. Yeah. Whereas we don't see Zack. It's not a dream for our characters. Yeah, it's just something that's happened at some point in time. Who knows when?
Colin, what about you? Opening with Zack, not opening with the flashback. Did it get you pumped and ready to go?
Yeah. I mean, like the intro, obviously, like I was just excited to get the game going. So like I'm sure I was like hyped beyond all belief just getting to open it up. But yeah, no, there was one thing in the opening that rang with me, and I kind of thought they might pay it off at some point. They didn't, but maybe they will in a future event. But you know, like, so Zack just kind of beats the faith, or survives the faith. Something happens there and he doesn't die, and he walks into Midgar with Cloud. Yeah. But while they're watching all the televisions and stuff of Avalanche having gone through, they say that like everybody perished and there's somebody running around with a Buster Sword. Yeah. And my theory was just like, well, like, Zack has come from a different dimension or universe or whatever has happened, but he's brought a Cloud with him, which means there's still a Cloud running loose in this world. Yeah. And then he also has the potential to kind of do what Cloud has done, or moving forward in time, there's like,
and I know they didn't pay that off, but that still could happen. It still could have been a case where that, like, because even when you're talking to Biggs isn't aware of the Clouds that's with Zack. He's aware of the Cloud that was the Cloud that you played in as the entire game. So that's not the Biggs from Zack's universe at all. It's the Biggs from our universe.
We'll get into that, the nitty gritty of the convergences and the timelines, kind of, I guess, maybe towards the end of the episode after we get our review. Because I'm the part I'm most excited about, because I know you guys have the game, but the part I'm most excited about is your thoughts for what it means for part 3. I love, tinfoil hat time. I'm big into that. So one thing I want to get into is the story. So right, we know all three of us here know the original OG Final Fantasy VII story. We get to Calm. Calm in the original game is a nicely painted village. You talk to a couple of people. Cloud gives the flashback, and kind of away you go, and that's it. In this game, they've changed it quite a lot. Like that, for me, I loved the fact that y'all went to Calm and you were like on a little date with Aerith, and it's your first kind of the visual. Feast that is Calm. I was like, God, this is amazing. But not only does everything look amazing, I'm like, oh my God, they're sprinkling extra. Much like, I mean, I always talk about my favorite part from Remake. One of my favorite parts was how they expanded on just climbing the wall to get to the higher plates. Yeah. Calm was another one of those kind of things where you're not just going into this place just to buy your materia and stuff and then fuck off out. There's this whole piece where Shinra comes along and is trying to find you guys because you're essentially still terrorists.
Yeah.
Why did you? I mean, what was your thoughts at that point? Being like, because this is a departure from the original story.
Just going downstairs, I loved it. Was like you stay up late talking to Tifa for some reason with some bullshit conversation. But after that, like it's the morning and you walk down the stairs and like the innkeeper's like, "Oh, wake up, sleepyhead." And that first couple of steps onto the outside, I was so excited to see what Calm looked like, and it didn't disappoint at all. Like there's just a guy selling Cactura dolls and Tonberry dolls. There's this group of people dancing for some reason in a corner. There's the water tower. There's just so many people talking and chatting and having these private conversations. It really felt like this lively town had come to life, and your characters were exploring it, and everyone went their separate ways. And Red 13 comes over to you and is like, "Cloud, yes, I will join you on your quest." And you're like, "Oh, excellent, Red's with me."
Yeah, and it's quite a strong piece that happens throughout the game. But that little section where it says, it pings up on the screen if someone joins your party or leaves the party. It happens quite a lot in the game, and I think at some points it happens at like important moments as well. And I'm like, oh shit, like someone's left the party. It means something, and I like that, where that was the first time where you realize Red 13 is now a playable character on my team. Time to open up the menu, check my materia, check all that kind of shit. Colin, for you, story wise, you're in Calm, you're about to get ready to the open world. Is it sucking you in the way you want it to?
It is. I wasn't overly impressed with Calm at the beginning. I had like visuals of what I thought it would look like, and Calm did kind of grow on me as time went on. But I think it grew on me more because Calm is probably one of the only real cities that doesn't feel kind of empty. Like even Calm, I found kind of empty. Like just like with the OG game, and you're not going to get it with that, obviously. So this is just very nitpicky kind of details on an overall like beautiful game. But like you could run around, you could go into everybody's houses, you could kind of pop in. Most of it was just there to fill up space, but then every so often you find a chest, or like press X in an area that you couldn't see behind the chest, or behind like a wall or something like that. There was a lot of that element of the game that I always enjoyed and loved, and when you're running around towns now, it's like there's only a handful of shops. There's like, Chadley.
But there's more open space. Like it's not interior designs that are identical. Like, because each house would look identical to each other if it was just someone's house. Whereas rather
just resemble the
doing
original.
it this way, you get the weapon shop, you get the magic shop, the bookstore. You're getting locations that are going to be unique as opposed to just someone's home.
What I find interesting about it is, and onto your point in that column, in terms of like considering that it's a bit empty, I would probably disagree a little bit.
I massively disagree. I think it's outrageous.
With Calm especially, I think, because Calm felt lively. But what I find interesting about it is, to your point, like, in the old game, you could see a line of houses, you go into every house, you rob them blind, and off you go. You might talk to them. And this game, there's just loads of places that you can go to that don't have chests. There's
a lot of them do. Like if you went around Calm, I think there are still 3 or 4 chests. Yeah.
But
it's probably more than in the original game.
It's such a big space that I was looking at nooks and crannies, being like, I think there should have been a chest here. But what I mean by that is, it's insane to think that the amount of detail they put into this place, for parts of it that you'll never walk down purposely, or I'm like, I love that. I love it. It reminds me of,
well, I did see every like nook and cranny. But legit going to explore every part of it, and there were some secrets. There was some underground areas and things like that you could find. Brilliant. But like even the random NPCs that you talk to, you would think that okay, they're just going to look the same or be talking about something the same. But usually they always have some really unique dialogue.
Yeah.
Or even the characters that played Queen's Blood, you would think that, they're just going to be an NPC standing there and the board's going to be beside them. But usually every single one of them had some weird quirks or had like a box fort around them or had a twin brother. Like there was always something going on with them to make it interesting.
Yeah.
It was never just a bland,
The
let's play cards.
The NPC dialogue is outrageous. Throughout the entire game, the NPC dialogue just blows me away. The effort that's been put into it. But
I wish there was a bit of a delay in before the characters said the same thing again.
Yeah.
Like you had to come back 5 minutes later for them to repeat, because sometimes you just run through and you run back and they
saying
start
the
to
same
think
thing.
it triggers within like 30 seconds.
Yeah. So we get the thing where you have to be chased out of calm, which is quite an interesting thing because they're still on for you to get terrorists. And Broden, who's clearly like the innkeeper, who's clearly sick and ex-Shinra in some way, helps you get out. And we finally get the moment that you got when you left Midgar in the first game, where the doors open and you're introduced to the open world. And at this stage in the game,
I was terrified at that exact moment in the game.
Why were you terrified?
Because ever since they released Crisis Core and they had like the original voice actors, particularly for Aerith, because I don't think Cloud is really in that game, but they had your one Brianna White come back to give Aerith all that shit dialogue from Crisis Core, because she's a completely different character in that game. She's just this lost princess who has nothing interesting to say and is quite demanding. But as soon as those doors open, she's like, here we are on our new journey. And as soon as she said that, I was like, oh no, she's so used to recording Crisis Core that she's completely forgotten.
Is it the same? Is it this? Oh, you mean for when they went back to do Reunion? The Crisis Core update, yeah. No,
yeah.
But
no, she smartened up after that.
Yeah.
But that dialogue from her right there and then scared the shit out of me and was like, oh no, they've poorly written Aerith again. Or the voice actor has forgotten what Aerith's supposed to be like from Crisis Core.
Yeah. But Colm, to you, open world, or at this point, we don't know if it's open world or just big areas. First big area, grasslands, initial thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say Grasslands didn't hit me overly strong. Like, I think I was just kind of running around. Actually, I screwed myself over. It was still learning, like, training wheels and whatnot.
Yeah.
I ran around exploring the map for fucking ages. Kept seeing all these, like, big dishes and, like, big structures and caves with stuff in them. And I was like, what is all this shit? And then after a while, I was just like, I'll just go ahead and go through the missions. And then like 1 or 2 missions in, it was like, yeah, you have to go find all those things. And I couldn't fast travel back to any of them.
Yeah, because you have to get to Chadley.
Yeah.
So I guess because we get these open sections and we're introduced to what Square Enix is going to do with a Final Fantasy open world thing. So we're so used to like The Witcher, Horizon, Tears of the Kingdom open worlds. What did you guys make of what is available to us in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's open world? We have the classic climb the tower to open up the map. You've got the combat simulators. You've got the Mog House. What was your impressions of? I mean, Did you enjoy what was there? Did you think that we needed more in the open world? Less? Was it okay?
By the time I guess we got to Gongaga, I was a little sick of some of those. But at the same time, a lot of the time I'd be like thinking to myself, man, I need to fight some more monsters to level up my materia, or just to use like Kate Sit, who I haven't really used very often. So that was a perfect excuse to do those things. Mm-hmm. So it never felt like a chore, because I just wanted to fight bad guys just to level up Kate Sit or to get used to how he plays. So doing all that stuff secondary, it was like 2 birds, 1 stone type of thing. But it did feel after a while that maybe there should have been maybe just a few less towers or those life springs, you know, that type of thing. And maybe a couple more proto relic quests. But like those were absolutely exceptional, the proto relic ones.
Yeah, across the board. Colin, what about you? Was there enough for you to enjoy what was going on in the open world?
No, not really. Like with the open world element, like not so much. I had like a few different reasons why. Like I didn't like the feel of the chocobos running. Like whenever, like you have to run around without using your dash, but I was always getting sidetracked trying to pick up all the like items on the ground. So I was just like dashing, seeing something, then running back, getting it, then dashing, seeing another item appear, getting that. Like I was just non-stop doing that.
Can you not pick up when you're dashing? Is that it?
No, you can. You just ran past.
You have to be
quickly.
so quick. Yeah, you have to be so.
I
quick.
never once didn't pick something up.
So like the movement of the chocobo, I didn't really overly enjoy too much. I
loved riding on chocobo.
Yeah,
I absolutely loved it. And the music would kick in, and you didn't know what tune it was going to play. There were so many, like, you know.
Yeah.
Especially having played Final Fantasy 16, I can tell you that the improvements in the chocobo are massive.
Yeah, they learned a lot.
Still with the open world though,
Yeah.
like as I said about towns, I do think that the open world is a bit empty as well. Like there's a lot of areas, like obviously there'll be a quest marker to go there, but if you get there ahead of time before you get the quest, you're like, oh, this is definitely going to be for a big battle later on or something like that.
But every open world game does that. You can always tell the creator where a boss battle is going to be, you know.
How they've developed it, yeah. Going through the things we'll talk about, I suppose this is our first introduction then to mini games, so we can hit on a few of those while we're here. The Mog House.
I enjoyed it the first time, and then I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to keep doing this. And it like each time it got harder, I was just thinking, man, I really don't want to, like, if I fail this, I'm just gonna leave. I don't want to do it again, you know. So I liked when it gave you the option to increase the amount of times you could be hit, because sometimes it's a pain in the ass just getting them, and then having to start it all over again would have been terrible. Granted, there are strategies to get through it quicker, but I just felt like it wasn't the best mini game for just running towards them. And there was like a wins mechanic, but I thought maybe there should have been a bit more with that, especially if they're going to repeat it 6 times.
Yeah, because it is repeated 6 times. If you had to pick a favorite piece of the open world, Colin, what would be that was available?
The Nibelheim Chocobo element. That was the favorite part, for sure.
Okay, yeah. So I suppose for those, I mean, I'm sure everyone who's listening to this has played it, but we know we get a different Chocobo for each realm. And I have to agree, I think the Nibelheim Chocobo was the most fun way to get around.
The Cosmo Canyon one was supposed to be the best. Like, as soon as they said it could fly and I saw this big, massive open canyon, I thought this is going to be the best Chocobo ever. But it's by far the worst. And it's
quite
so boring and shit that like it basically just falls in slow motion. And it's just so, even those like, that quest you have to do with Yuffie to like do all the trials on the Chocobo, that was so shit. Like
so
it was so bad and so slow. It didn't really seem like because you could fly down and come back up, but you would never get that much elevation. You would only come up a little bit. So it just was like, oh no. So the Chocobos can't actually fly. But then you get to Nibelheim and they can.
Well, I mean, they can squirt, I guess, just fly on water or whatever it is. I guess because while we're on open world and what's available to us, I kind of guess we'll go through the areas. Personally, myself, I'd have to say I had the most fun exploring the Junon area. Like the much wider place. I thought based on the demo that we got to play, I was like, oh, these sections are quite small. And when I got into Junon initially and got the Chocobo, I was like, this place is huge. It's massive. You get the kind of the right under Junon section. Then you have a little section where it gets a bit greener because it's closer to the grasslands and everything. And then there's a whole mountain area behind that that's good
town. What was it called? The little town that's completely new to the game.
Yeah,
the Crow's Nest.
Crow's Nest. Yeah.
I loved that because it was just a whole new town.
Yeah,
you know?
to go into. So that was, I found all that quite interesting. And the thing I have to say about the open worlds that I really enjoyed was the summon shrines, because there was especially when I was, when you're learning stuff about each summon, you're walking around and they're talking about Titan was the grasslands one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you'd smash one of those, the pieces on the ground that would release an orb that would direct you to the shrine. And every time you did that for the first time, Chadley would come on and give you a little piece of background information about each summon. And I remember doing that and following this thing into like a cavern and swimming in or wherever it might have been. And Chadley would be telling me all about like, oh, they believe the land is the way it is because of what Titan did to it. I'm like, oh, this shit's so cool. And then you get into the shrine and the music changes and it feels very imposing. And then, the summon mini game of tapping the buttons when you're meant to tap the buttons was fine. But
I always found that quite easy.
Yeah, I think I might have failed it maybe once or twice throughout my entire playthrough. It was never anything too challenging. But I like that. And I know you said you didn't like the life spring thing as well, but the life spring thing for me was such
I loved it the first 50 times. But
it was the 50 times after that.
Like after a while, I was just kind of stumbling upon them and just like, all right, here we go again.
Because in the world, like, I would have gone around and trying to like collect all the bits that I could find, see if there's any materia here, fight some guys. And then I'd see one of the birds and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to follow the bird. And you get in and the music would change. It would change the live stream tune.
And that music
so
was
relaxing.
So good.
And I just take a moment to be like, now's a good time, and because the life springs for me were always a time to be like, anytime you unlock them or unlock 2, you get a little piece of information about the area, which I'm like, Kevin was laughing at me when I was on the phone to him. He was like, I knew you'd fucking love that. Like, just give me background information about anything, and I made like
anytime I got
lore.
one of those life spring things, I read it immediately.
Yeah,
not only that, but I'd always look around. If I'm in a cave, I'd look around, see what my characters are doing, maybe take out the photo mode and take a terrible picture. But I always stopped and kind of took in my surroundings anytime I did one of those caves.
Can I also just say, like, as Craig was saying that the first 50 times he didn't mind that so much. For me, the worst thing about all those things was Chadley calling you nonstop. Like,
That
I
is-
got
that is-
really pissed off after a while. I was just like, I don't give a fuck what you have to say anymore. Just skip it straight away. Like,
it got to a point where I never turned on. I had him still playing through the controller because
I never had that setting on.
I
I turned that setting off.
I loved it. I thought it was quite good because now, in fairness, the thing about Chadley was that it was too much. It was too much. He'd call you about everything, and I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ.
And sometimes he'd call you, and then his little AI counterpart and him would start talking to each other and then arguing for ages. I was like, they're taking the piss here.
Was it Mai, wasn't it?
Mai,
Yeah. So that was, you're right. I think that would definitely, from the open world aspect, when I'm trying to get on with things, and I have to listen to a fucking piece from Chadley every
Oddly
5-10
enough, I
minutes.
never minded it ever. Like, you know, I always felt like, okay, I'm after completing something. I just need a moment for myself. So sometimes I'd just be listening to him do that, and that's enough for me to kind of, okay, what am I going to do next? So it was enough for me to just catch my bearings.
Because it happened, like anytime we got close to the combat assignments, Maya would come out, and I loved the stuff that she'd talk about, but sometimes it was like I'd be standing there waiting to go for a fight because you can't hear her speak when you're fighting, and I'm not going to read the screen when I'm fighting either. So I was like, the only way I'm going to be able to hear this piece about the background about these fiends is if I stand here and wait and listen to my talking. And I was like,
Did you do that?
For
I did it every time.
every single one. Although what was frustrating was that when you would unlock all the life springs and you would get the final combat assignment, which was always like that area's boss, when you press and hold triangle to engage that boss and then you're in the fight, that's when Mai would start telling you about that particular boss, so that you could not do anything but like try and listen to what she's telling you about, like the King Zoo, while you were fighting it. And
My
I was like,
attention span is so bad that once I'm fighting something, people can say whatever they want and I can't hear a word they're saying. Like, so like, while I was ever fighting a boss, it didn't matter what, and it sucks because sometimes the characters have great dialogue, but I only ever hear that if I'm paused or choosing a command. Otherwise, that's all gone, you know?
Yeah. So I love the Judon area. So after Judon we had
Coral for me was the best
Coral,
area. Mainly because as soon as he left Costa del Sol, I was like, oh man, there's actually a road that goes to the Coral Mountains, and it was all broken apart. And then there was the waterfall, and then there was these like zip lines and shit. And I was like, oh my god, this place is amazing. It's a very small area, but only because once you get through the mountains, you unlock the rest of it, which is a massive desert area. So it just felt like the Coral region had so much going on. Like, it kind of has four, like if you include Costa del Sol, North Corel, the Dust Bowl, and the Gold Saucer, it's like 4 towns in like one area.
In one area.
It felt
it is.
massive.
I think on the map it is the biggest looking area, isn't it? When you open it up as one whole piece. Colin, did you have a particular area that you?
I would go with that as well. Yeah,
Corel
area. I like the Gold Saucer quite a lot. Costa del Sol was really cool the first time around. Like I remember like going in there like and just being like, oh, I'll put on all the like cool swim clothes and blah blah blah. I never did that again.
No.
I mean again.
So like you do it while you're walking around there, but then the next time you go to Costa del Sol, I wasn't going to a changing booth and putting on my swimsuit again.
I see what you mean. Yeah. Well, I mean you wouldn't have to, but have you noticed that now that you've cleared the game, you can wear those outfits anywhere, anytime you want?
I did not know that.
You can.
And a lot of people
Which is
were
awesome.
hoping for
I know, and I love how
the
they
ability.
did that because I hate seeing cutscenes with stupid costumes. You know, it kind of takes me out of it.
Yeah.
But once you've cleared it, you can go back and do all those.
Because I always used to be jealous of people with the PCs. She used to listen to me. People with PCs, and they would mod the games to have characters in certain costumes. I was like, oh, I'll never experience that. But that's good to know. Actually, I can change character costumes. I know. So we've talked kind of in order of how they've appeared. Craig, I know you didn't like it at all, Gone Gaga.
I did. It's not like the music's great, and like the first time you got there and there was a jungle, I just didn't know what was going to happen next. I was like, what are we even going to do with Gongaga? Like, because that is an optional place in the original game. So I was probably most excited for Gongaga because I thought something major would happen with the story. But ultimately, I didn't like the shift that they went with for the story. First off, Cisne shows up, which is another Crisis Core. And anytime Crisis Core is seen or mentioned, it upsets me. Especially because she was behaving like she was like the chief of the village.
Yes.
Whereas
she's only been there for a couple of months.
Whereas we know she's only been there for like a month, maybe 2.
Yeah.
But she's clearly the leader of the village. And I'm like, this just canonically is doing my head in right now because they shouldn't have her in it at all, or maybe she should be in the background. But then, you know, the characters go to the reactor, and then the Whispers show up and they're fighting through, and then you switch back to the girls and they pretty much take the same route to the reactor, and you're kind of doing it again. I was like, okay, they've kind of the other areas where you split the party like had two very different missions and two different locations. This one is a bit of rinse repeat, you know, and they just didn't seem to take as much care into this one.
Yeah, traversal for Gongaga was a nightmare. I thought it
Yeah.
looked beautiful, but traversally it was very difficult to get around.
Those mushrooms could send you 10 feet or 200 feet, and you would have no idea which one was going to happen.
Yeah, it's very hard to like, you know, like in that whole area, the towers that you have to unlock, like to find some of the routes to get up onto them platforms, just to unlock them.
You had to like get the chocobo and find the right
like,
mushroom.
Sometimes it's like right there, but like
There's no way to
get to it because you have to jump on. It felt like, do you remember in Pokemon when you're in the Silphco or the Silphco building in Saffron City?
Oh, and you're getting
those teleporter tiles, and it's just sending you to random floors.
Absolutely.
It felt like that, like, you know.
Yeah.
But
It
like,
was.
To get there, you have to hit this platform, and they may say
And
send you in the right
even
direction.
after 120 hours, now granted, I only went back to Gongaga once to kind of complete whatever else was needed there, but I never felt like I knew my way around Gongaga. Whereas, even though I didn't like Cosmo Canyon's traversal much either, I knew my way around Cosmo Canyon by the end of all my quests. Gongaga, I never figured it out. It was just too narrow.
So linear.
Yeah, too narrow.
Even from the town, there was like two sections. Like you could go out south or you could go out west. And whichever door you picked, you couldn't actually get to anywhere else other than those two. Like that area south or that area west. There was no way to link back around without going back to the town and then
back out again. So next after Gongaga was Nibelheim or Cosmo Canyon, right? Cosmo Canyon was after Gongaga.
Yes.
Yeah.
You get the plane with Sid.
We get the plane with Sid. Now we'll talk about like the characters and the moments and the story beats, of course. But I just in terms of the open world, because we've got Cosmo Canyon and Nibelheim as the kind of last two areas. Cosmo Canyon, did it meet expectations for you, Colin?
When I first went there, I felt like it was really cool, but in fairness, that's like all scripted for the old Nanaki returning, and like he comes home, so there's a lot of like characterized dialogue as you're walking through, because I thought that was cool. But on returning visits, running through it, like I gave up on running through it. I would just use those fast travel merchants.
I would too. It was very hard to tell where to go. Yeah. But eventually I did learn the layout, and I knew exactly where the inn and the weapon shops were in Chadley. Like I was like, okay, if I know where those things are, I'm okay.
Because it was a differently constructed kind of town in terms of it was quite vertical in places.
And then for how long you spent there, which wasn't a lot, it looked incredible, as though it was like built to be a Midgard like type of thing, that you would be in there all the time.
And in the OG game, you only got to experience Cosmo Canyon at nighttime, right?
Well, it was supposed to be constantly shrouded in dark. No. I think it
know.
was.
It would always look dark when you walked in.
Was that
but did it not get darker with Meteor? Was that like a thing?
No, because that's when you arrive initially. It always dark. Looks dark. No
because it was because they always had the torches on. It was always it always had that kind of like much like campfire vibes in the OG one. Cosmo Canyon for me, I loved the. I thought I was going to love the open world, but the open world was too designed with the chocobo in mind. Like, it took me away. Having all these fans around the place, and it took me away from this place that was meant to be
those
like a
fans
valley.
were also quite useless. Like, a couple of times I jumped in the fan, and I was like, well, where can I go now?
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't reach anything having gotten to the fan. I was like, that was useless.
It was difficult, and I think that the idea of having all those the little the hot air balloons that would help you continue to fly, having them just dotted around the place took me out of Cosmo Canyon as opposed to really put me in there.
And the chocobos were shit.
Exactly.
It was the worst region's chocobo, other than maybe Gongaga.
I think Gongaga was probably my least favorite. Then,
but when you got to Cosmo Canyon, you could actually see everything on the map.
Yes, yeah.
Like you could see everything and go to everywhere you could see.
Visually, it was impressive in terms of what the game was capable of as well. But my only problem was I was looking at other things, and I'd look down and I'm like, why is this place just filled with fans everywhere? Like, I'm like, oh. Nibelheim, Colm, your favorite chocobo, your favorite way to get around. How did you find Nibelheim as a open world area?
Well, I was surprised that there were so many islands and shit like that. Like, I thought that they'd expand the mainland a bit more.
Lots of water in Nibelheim. Yeah, who knew?
Well, yeah.
Is there any way to get a chocobo around?
You had to like all these different islands, and like things that I found strange in Nibelheim were like Sid's town and village is just on the other side of the cave. You know, the cave where you fight the Trine monster and you go into Nibel. That's on the other side of the mountains, and that's not in the game. But further than that, again, is like the chocobo sage character.
Yes,
and he's like, you can only get to him with like a mountain chocobo or something like that. So I was like, how the hell is he in the game, and yet Sid's not in the game, or Sid's little town's not in the game. But
because they want to build it from scratch and make it look amazing.
But it's such a small town; they could have done
I know,
it anyway,
but like the town under Junon was a teeny tiny town with nothing, and they made that huge.
Junon was amazing.
Yeah.
Yes,
I love Junon.
So I think for me as well, I do miss that because there were certain things in the world map of OG7, and just in terms of to make a comparison, we'll move on then from the open world sections now. But the OG7 had lots of nooks and crannies, hidden things. You know, the cavern with the Knights of the Round Table, you needed certain chocobos to get to certain areas, and it was all based on.
We're going to have that still.
I would hope so, but I don't know if we're going to have certain as important things as we would. Like, I mean, when we got this one to open up, there was like, oh, I could go to caverns and go on a pirate kind of quest type thing. Yeah. But there's a couple of things that I felt where, like, the Chocobo stage was taken a little bit away, and then you also have the guy who you speak to in Junon, who is the mithril fella who gives you the stuff for Aerith's ultimate weapon in OG7. He's just living up in a house in Junon as well, and you have to do a quest for him. Yeah. So all these things that were like kind of the hidden gems that you as just a player had to be more involved in the game to discover, they've kind of taken that away from us. But I think that's just modern video games now. I don't think they really make video games like that. Where it will
remain to be seen, because again, ultimate weapons are supposed to be gotten at the very, very end of the game.
Yeah.
And remember, they still did set up things for ultimate weapons, like in Midgar when you went into that place in Wall Market, the machine gun shot at you, preventing you getting Tifa's ultimate weapon. Like, stuff like that is still in the game, so I wouldn't be surprised if they made us go back. Part, there are some extra like crazy quests to do those things. So I wouldn't fret just yet, because I think the map is going to get very big, especially by the way the map is laid out.
Yes.
You can see what's going to be filled in, and it's a lot.
So that'll bring me to one of my next predictions. Craig, you laughed at me. You said, no way will it be a completely open world. They won't do it. It's impossible, you said. And I said, no, Craig.
It's best to lower expectations.
2 discs. And that moment in the game where you discover that it's completely open world was phenomenal. Like the tiny Bronco, Vincent hops on, and you're off on your way back to the Golden Saucer for the Keystone. And the plane crashes in the sea, and and Sid fixes it up as a little boat, and you have to park it up in Costa del Sol. And then you realize that no, at any point in this game, I can go to any section, and it's all open, completely seamless.
No load screen whatsoever.
Outrageous.
That blew my mind. It'll be one of the things I remember forever, just being in the tiny Bronco and sailing east towards Junon. And every second, I kept expecting the game to stop me. Like, I kept expecting it to just hit an invisible barrier. And then it didn't. And then I could see the cannon, and I lost my shit, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I can go here. I could just cross and dock and get out. I was like, oh my God, that's absolutely incredible. Like,
insane.
For the entire game, they were giving us these zones and not showing us the rest of the zone on the map. They were specifically hiding it, like giving us only the map, the region, the zone.
Which I actually thought when I was trying to play through the game was quite frustrating, because I was like, I want to know what quests I have in feckin'... I'm in the grasslands and I want to know what's in Junon, but they purposely kept it so that you wouldn't see that everything was so well interconnected, So I think that was one of the... If there's highlights of the game, that's one of the best moments for me, was going from Costa del Sol to Junon for the first time and realizing I could do that anywhere. Yeah. And what that means in terms of for a part 3, and we'll go into that, like the high wind. Like, we're going to be able to fly the high wind around the entire... The game is clearly set up with the high wind in mind. Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. The map, even because it's very difficult to create an open world and have it seamless. So you can see there's sections of the map that are, like, you won't be able to actually walk around there. Like, it's kind of just rocky and stuff like that. Like, there's very few beaches. It's mostly just fucking rocks around the sides. But they've had to do it in a way that is plausible, so the high wind can't just land on anything, but you can see, based on what the high wind looks like and the map looks like, how it's going to go down, and there's going to be I predict at the very least there's going to be 4 new regions. One for Mideel will have its own region in the south, one for Wutai in the west, probably a massive one, one for Rocket Town north of Nibelheim, and one for the Icicle Inn in Northern Crater. So that's 4 at least big zones with who knows. On top of, because this is the mad thing, and I know we'll leave the end of the episode to go into what our hopes are for the third part. But I can see it like the third game being that, you have these 4 new areas, whatever it is. But don't worry, go and enjoy the other 5 fucking massive areas that we've already given you with loads more quests. And Midgar, you'll be able to go back there now. So you've all of the first game and the second game.
and now like a shit 4 more zones at least in the
outrageous.
third game, plus all of Midgar. Like, I don't know how it could easily be 3 discs this time.
Will have to be. Funny thing is, I got the digital version to tie me over because my physical copy was delayed. But I actually put in I opened it up and said, I'm going to put in my physical copy and delete the digital one because there's the bug for the platinum trophy as well. So I was like, I'm going to fix that and put in my physical copy. But I put in the first disc. You get a data disc and a play disc. So it isn't a thing where it's like, please insert this too. Unfortunately, you just put in a data disc to like.
I knew that was a
install the
scam
game
to get people excited.
Oh man, yeah,
I
but it
knew
got me.
it. Is that on my predictions? Because I'm pretty sure I said that. It's like, it's going to be nonsense that they could have easily
But the
fit.
data disc I was like, I'll do this and I'll play the game in no time. But because I'm not directly downloading from the internet, I'm copying data. It goes into a copying. It took ages for that information to. And I was kind of sitting there, and I'd finished the game at this stage, so I knew I was sitting there being like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you have a lot of work to do to put this entire map on the game. And have this entire map exist with all these towns and villages at all the one time seamlessly. I was like, I'll let you just work away. That doesn't bother me. Going from what we've had so far, we've talked about the open world and things like that. I guess I kind of want to touch on a bit of the gameplay. We might kind of take a quick breakdown after we go to the gameplay before we get into like the character development, the story itself, and our predictions. But Colm, to you first. Battle systems, gameplay, materia, just essentially how the gameplay is and what makes it fun. An improvement on Remake, in your opinion?
I'm not sure about improvement on Remake just yet. I haven't played Remake in a good long time, and even actually my opinion of this game and the hard mode, like the correct materia to use is very important. So harder difficulties like materia being tactical with that is very important.
Yeah.
Whereas on the standard difficulties, like you can really just fuck around and do whatever you want.
Yeah, you can just brute your way through almost any scenario.
Like, there were a load of situations where you'd be fighting a bad guy and go, oh no, I don't have fire materia. Oh well, I'll just beat him anyway.
Yeah.
I'll just rush him and it won't matter.
But in terms of the new things that we got in this game, which would have been your
Yuffie?
block, well, I mean the characters, of course. Yeah, we can talk about the characters like Yuffie and Kate Sith and Red.
Just Yuffie.
The combat itself, yeah.
Combat. But I mean, in terms of we got like a whole new selection of moves when we guard to kind of keep things interesting and to like for free essentially charge your ATB bars. And then we have the synergy options as well, which I was listening to our episode recently. I haven't, because none of us made a prediction, but we were talking about how we saw the trailer when they first introduced the synergy items, and it was you, me, and Kev, Craig, and we were in bits. We're like, "Oh, looks amazing," and we're like, "Jesus," because we saw you saw 5, and we were like, "Could you imagine if they had like 1 for every character?" And that was the height of our expectation. And
I was like, "No, you'll probably get like 2, 3, maybe,
in total." But there are 2. Almost for each.
I think there's 2 for every character. Unfortunately, some of them are United Refocus, which just powers you up and they stand together.
Yeah.
But
there's still a lot
having the 3 ATBs is very useful, though.
Yeah. But in terms of, let's talk about the characters introduced in terms of how fun they were. We've Red 13, Yuffie, and
Well,
Kate Sith.
Yuffie was in the original game. She just has...
Well, she got a DLC.
She got DLC.
She was
but
by
they
herself.
clearly spent a long time designing her, because in the DLC she played really well and really uniquely, far more so than I think Red and Kate Sith even in this game, because they clearly, like Yuffie's clearly the star. I'd say, like in this game, because of how popular she was in Intergrade.
I wouldn't say, I didn't even play Intergrade, and I would say she's popular due exclusively to the fact that she has all 4 elements easily at hand.
Well, I think her personality gives her popularity.
I just mean in terms of gameplay, she's formidable.
She is very formidable. I mean, as a character, she's great fun too, but like as a character, a side character, like I often have to debate between Aerith and Barrett.
Yeah.
Yuffie is just better than both of them. Like just straight up better than both.
Well, I don't think that's true at all. But I do think Yuffie is the only character in my entire party who I use every single one of her abilities. Like there's not one dud. Whereas every other, like Unbridled Strength has always felt like a dud to me, and now there's Unbridled Fury, which is the double dud. So it's just power up, and then Cloud has Disorder, which I never use, and I hate that it gives you a blip. But then he has Prime Mode, which is just a power up move, and like Barrett has so many like, oh, now I'm my defense is stronger. You know, like kind of duds. Whereas with Yuffie, it's doppelganger to now fucking do twice as much damage. You have her elemental ninjutsu. You have that blindside move, which is like the only move in the game that you can use while you're in hit stun.
Yeah.
And it looks amazing if you do it while you're hit. It looks absolutely incredible. Then she has the Shuriken Star, which hits them over and over again and keeps them elevated. Like all of her moves are really unique and useful, and I use every single one of them.
She was, for me, my favorite character, I think, both in... she's not my favorite character in Final Fantasy lore, of course, Final Fantasy VII lore, but for this game, in terms of what they did to her, I was like, most improved, you know? Most improved, most enjoyable, really enjoyed all of her bits, and then... in terms of her gameplay, as Craig said, like not a single dud. Interesting question. What did you guys make of Red 13? Because we saw a lot of trailers and we didn't really know how he was going to play.
For the most part, disappointed, but he does have some cool elements. Like if you launch on a load of materia for like steadfast block and stuff like that, his vengeance meter goes up. You can get immune kind of blocks and all, but you have to really want to block as him.
He's a slow burner.
I think he's a good character for hard mode when blocking becomes essential, because generally I'm always so focused on what I'm doing that I don't block anything. I just generally just take the hits, like, you know. And plus I never repeat fights because I usually win, so I don't know the patterns, you know, so I'm just getting hit with stuff, like, you know. But I'd say the more you play the game, like your second and third playthrough, I'd say he'd be a lot of fun because you're really like analyzing the enemy as opposed to just doing your own thing. So I think he's more of a repeat character, but I did not have fun playing as him. I
really enjoyed him on the team as someone that I could switch to quite quickly. So I didn't enjoy building up the vengeance gauge. I thought that part was like just standing there to take hits was like, this is a bit boring. When you've got someone like Yuffie or Cloud to play as, I was like, this is a bit boring. But the AI did a superb job of building your vengeance gauge. So I would go in, do a couple of moves as, you know, let's say if I had Cloud, Yuffie and Red on the team, Cloud do a few moves, Yuffie do a few moves, and by the time I switch over to Red, his vengeance gauge is almost completely full. And I love his styles of abilities. Like he's a bit of a buffer. He buffs people, and he's really strong.
Like he has a move that grants haste on everyone, and then he has a move that improves their ATB. And like that's just the same thing. That's pointless.
I couldn't understand the difference in those myself.
I was like, why have that? And it drains your vengeance gauge too. I'm like, well, all I want to do is get the vengeance gauge as fast as I can, but two of his moves, one of his claw swipes depletes the gauge, and one of the things that grants ATB also depletes the gauge.
But I quite like that as an aspect in terms of like to plan my moves and to your strategy and what's going to be most important for me.
But it took me so long to fill that bar that I'm not just going to do a slightly stronger, braver attack to deplete the gauge.
He's also, I think he's the second most powerful after Aerith for magic, his magic attack. So I equipped him with lots of spells, and he was like, as a cure, as a healer, he was insane.
That's pretty cool.
I had like at the beginning I had Cloud with fire and ice, that fire and ice materia with elemental, but I ended up switching that over to Red just to give him a really wide range of kind of offensive magic to use. So strong, and like a bit different in that I had Aerith who did that a lot as well, but I focused her on more like barrier, protect, heal, that kind of stuff, and then Arrow, whereas Red was like quake, fire, poison, all that kind of stuff. And he was
her
so
magic
strong.
attack excels his easily.
Oh yeah. She is like he's like
just
she's
because
80 stronger.
Every one of her weapons has like bad physical attack and very high magic attack.
Did you guys feel overwhelmed at all by the choice of things that you could do in battle, thinking that we have all of the abilities and all of the moves from Final Fantasy VII Remake, then we have our block moves that we can use, which also are an important part to include?
The block moves are incredible, but I use them very rarely because, like I said, I was usually focused on just using my abilities and beating that I wasn't really stopped. But a couple of times that I did do it, I had a lot of fun, but I never had the button memory to do it in a tough fight, you know? So like I only very rarely did it and was like, wow, that was really great. And then I wouldn't do it again for another 20 hours because I just forget instantly.
Yeah. He had, because there was quite a lot. And then on top of that, you've got like the synergy moves. And the whole time you're kind of, I felt, playing to build to a synergy. And your block moves would build ATB to build the synergy, but I never thought of that first step. I was like, I'll just get ATB by attack, like slash them with square as much as I can. So I never really thought on those R1 moves, but you're right, like that, when I did think of them where they pulled off, like the there was a counter one, a counter block. I can't remember what it was called that Cloud had.
X or circle, and he like any projectile heal.
That's amazing.
It looks amazing, and that's my next thing about the combat in this game. Not only is the combat for me, I felt incredibly enjoyable. A huge improvement on Remake. There was lots of moments in Remake where you were kind of stalled because aerial fights were difficult. When you're fighting anything that was in the sky, it was difficult in Remake. And then
their solution to that was brilliant in this game.
So many characters.
Cloud and Yuffie can get to the air immediately.
Yeah, so no problems. And you have all those great. So that was when I used the R1 move the most, was to get Tifa up to the air, because she had a great move with Aerith, Barrett, and Cloud. Whereas if you use that, Cloud would launch her up on his sword, Barrett would launch her with the arm, or Yuffie and Aerith would create a magical lift.
That looked awesome. You could also just hold square. I only learned that a couple of
days
ago. I didn't realize that until really late in the game. I was like, oh my god, if you just hold square as Tifa, she jumps.
Yeah, any of the characters will jump into the sky. But the game, so as much fun as it is to play, it looks amazing. I feel like I'm involved in some of the greatest anime fights in anime history for just like the basic level fiend fights. They could even look amazing.
It's like it's an anime battle from a show I'm watching, but I'm doing it, and somehow I'm doing it as good as the anime characters would do.
Do you guys have a favorite synergy move?
Yes.
I've started recently doing it. It doesn't look visually good at all, but it's the ones that give you unlimited MP for a while.
That's probably really good on hard mode.
Yeah, it's great.
Who's one in particular do you like, or can you think of any like team up?
Anyone who's currently alive. It's hard mode, so yeah. Like
my favorite is the Barrett and Tifa with the sunglasses.
Barrett and Aerith, you mean?
Or Barrett and Aerith, with the sunglasses. I loved how they both just start blasting and then they strike a cool pose.
Yeah, that one looks great. I'm trying to think. I have a couple, but I do love, and it's kind of, it's not my favorite one in terms of look. The first time I saw it, I laughed so hard, and it's one of the later ones, but it's Aerith and Red, and she just magics
the Ringmaster, where she just starts swinging them around.
Launches him into the enemy to attack it. That one looked great, or look funny, but I think one of my favorite ones is Aerith and Barrett, the other one that they have, which is so good, where she just literally, because it looks like it flows, everything in that game flows so well, but Aerith, she spins her staff around while it's charging and puts it in front of Barrett's cannon to like launch a super magic move, and I was like, oh my god, it looks amazing. Looks so good. And Red 13 and Tifa have a real cool, like, just it's like a savage attack, but they just go mental, and Tifa's almost like in like kind of tiger mode as well. They just go savage, and I was like, that one looks great as well.
There aren't many, like I can think of another, like Aerith and Tifa, where she creates the big dome and Tifa's just flying around it.
Looks
and
amazing.
Comes down. That looks incredible. What also looks incredible is the one
Divine, or the punishment one with Cloud and Barrett is quite a good one, with the two of them double
and you only unlocked that near the end of the game. I couldn't believe that they only had,
because they showed that was in one of the first trailers. They showed that particular synergy move, but that's one of the last ones you get.
And Tifa and Yuffie, when they they both jump up on the ninja the shuriken, and they kick it at the enemy. That looks so good.
Yeah, and Aerith and Yuffie have a great one where Aerith uses magic on Yuffie's doppelgangers, and they all go in for a big kind of attack, and that one looks great as well. And there's so many things of like so many characters bonding, and like another great one is, and I never really had them on the team together, but Kate Sith and Red 13 and Cloud was kind of like the dud team. I did it sometimes just for fun, just to see their synergies. But Kate Sith and Red 13 had great synergy moves as well, where they just like, the three of them, like the Kate Sith, the Mog, and Red, would all charge into a fight and just savage the thing. And I was like, this is cool. I mean, it's a shit team, and I'm glad I saw this, but I'm never doing that.
I'm pretty sure most of Kate Sith's I haven't seen, just because they were always on every other character, the last one you could unlock.
Yes, yeah.
And by the time usually, like, especially when I was going for those moves, it was chapter 12, and he just wasn't in the group anymore. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to learn that. I'll just come back to it later. And instead, I just went for like my finishing moves and stuff like that. Yeah. So with Kate Sith, he only maybe had synergy moves with 2 characters for me. Yeah. And like, I never got to experience the rest of them. So I don't know what the
rest of them are fun. He has some fun ones, I have to say. Okay, so I think we'll leave it there for part 1. But part 2, we're going to come back for character development and the storyline, I think, and what we thought of that.
Nice.
And then part 3, we'll do a short little part about what we thought the fuck was going on with the ending.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Now, if you can't wait to listen to our part 2 and our part 3 of this Final Fantasy VII Rebirth review, all 3 parts are going to be made available from release of this episode on our Patreon over at patreon.com/thegiftofgaming. So if you can't wait to hear what we thought of the entire game, you can check out our Patreon there. And until next time, as always and forever, keep enjoying the gift that is gaming.